What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. In this one, it's the Game Week 35 preview. So I'm going to talk about Arsenal's lineup from last night and possible rotation implications for FPL. Going to go through some of your questions around Wildcard, whether you should focus on overall rank and mini league, and lots of other stuff as well. So let's get into it. So let's start with the Arsenal lineup from last night against PSG and what that might mean for rotation in FPL. Basically, they put out their full strength 11 from the players that are currently available. The only change that I would expect for the second leg is for Thomas Partey to come back in after his suspension. He'll play in midfield, Merino will play number 9, and Trossard will probably drop out of the team. Because of that, Trossard will probably start against Bournemouth in Game Week 35, and if you've got him in your FPL squad already, obviously I would keep him, but I'm still not sure I would buy him. It feels a bit short term, because if Arsenal go out, and obviously PSG will now be favourites to go through, Trossard is not part of the first choice 11, and therefore his minutes after Game Week 35 probably won't be as good. Like if you're going to put up a full strength team against Liverpool, it doesn't include Trossard if everyone else is fit and available. So I don't think I would buy him, but I would definitely keep him. Before anyone points it out, I am not saying the tie is over. There's no away goals or anything like that. Arsenal only need a 1-0 win away, and obviously then it goes to extra time, possibly penalty. So Arsenal can still go through. But because they're 1-0 down and the second leg is at home for PSG, PSG will be favourites now. But obviously we'll know before Game Week 36 what has happened in that tie. So I wouldn't buy Trossard. As for substitutions that were made, Timber was about to go off for Ben White, and Ben White was kind of ready to come on, and he sat back down. And then later on that substitution was made. So I'm not sure if Timber was struggling with something, but I think it's very unlikely that he will start in Game Week 35. I think Ben White will play that position. Lewis Skelly probably won't play either, but it doesn't really matter. He's listed as a midfielder in FPL. Odegaard was the only other sub, and it happened in the 90th minute for Nwaneri. So I think the chances of Saka starting against Bournemouth, having played the full game last night and needing to go away to PSG and to win, I just don't see it happening. So after last night, I'm pretty certain I'm going to sell Saka. I'm not that happy about it because I think Newcastle at home 37, Southampton away in 38 is good. But you've got a probable benching this week and then Liverpool away in 36. It just doesn't feel great. And similar with Martinelli. So I think we could see something like Trossard, Sterling, Nwaneri, front three, White in for Timber, Zinchenko in for Lewis Skelly. I do think Raya, Saliba and Kivior will play. Because ultimately, who would Arteta even play instead in those positions? Goalkeepers don't need rotating. Gabriel's injured. Ben White could play centre-back. But then you've got someone else that needs to play right-back. Calafiori's out injured at the moment. I just think Kivior, Saliba and Raya will play. Anyone else in that team, I wouldn't be that surprised if they were rotated for Game Week 35. After that, especially if Arsenal are out of the Champions League, I would expect to see mostly full strength for the rest of the season. So just a quick one on Evanilson. News came out this morning that his suspension has been overturned, so he'll be available for Bournemouth in Game Week 35. And as long as he doesn't pick up another suspension or get injured, presumably he will play the remaining 4 games. So if you've got him in your team, I would look to keep hold of him, even if you have to play him against Arsenal, because I think at his price, with the fixtures they've got afterwards, he's a pretty decent hold, especially with Leicester at home in Game Week 38. I still wouldn't buy him this week, though, because Arsenal away is a pretty difficult fixture, even if they do end up rotating. But he's definitely someone to look at 36 onwards. Villa at home, Man City away, Leicester at home is not a bad end to the season. We're still waiting to see if there's any double game weeks for 36. If there is for Man City, then Bournemouth would double as well. But again, it's quite unlikely that those doubles will happen. But if they're going to, we will hopefully find out by the deadline on Friday. But at this point, no news. But there is news on Evanilson's suspension. It has been lifted. And by the way, no, you will almost certainly not get your points back. So if you had Evanilson in your 11 for Game Week 34, FPL will almost certainly not give those points back. Technically, he's still got the red card. It's just the suspension that's been lifted. And I've never seen them go back. I know the game week is still open. I know they can change bonus points and all that stuff. But I really don't think you're getting those red card points back. So I've had a few questions this week about when to play the assistant manager chip. Because it spans over 3 game weeks, you want to use it in 35 or 36. If you save it until 37, obviously you'll only get 2 game weeks out of it. I think either way, this week is probably the best week to play it. Like there could be doubles in 36, but if we don't get them announced before the deadline, they're a lot less likely to happen. So I think I would activate it this week in most cases. Obviously, it's going to be team dependent, who you already own, which manager you want to target, etc. I've got this graphic from Rob T FPL, the points projections based on bookmakers' odds. For this week specifically, Oliver Glasner is at the top. That's because Palace are playing Nottingham Forest at home, and that's a table bonus game. If you've got the spare transfers and a spare Palace slot, I would be very tempted to go for him this week. I think targeting Forest, especially in a home game, is not a bad choice. I understand that Forest are ahead of them in the table for a reason, but it's absolutely a game that Palace can win. I don't think there'll be any rotation for Palace in terms of like Munoz, Sarr, Eze, Mateta, etc. They'll have a 9-day gap since they played their FA Cup semi-final game. And importantly, that game's on Monday, so it's a nice rest for Forest as well. But Forest play Thursday. So for Glasner and Palace, they played last weekend. They're not playing till Monday in 35. For Forest, they're playing Thursday, then Monday. And it's at home for Palace. So I'd be very tempted to go there. If you don't want to spend transfers, I think I would just go for Pep Guardiola. Because the fixtures from now until 37 for Man City are not bad. Like, they'd be expected to win all of them. Wolves at home, Southampton away, Bournemouth at home. I know people are going to tell me about how well Wolves are playing right now. Bournemouth can definitely cause them some problems. I get that. We're still talking about a top 4 team in Man City, right? They can win these home games against Wolves and Bournemouth, and Southampton away is a great fixture. So you can just put it on Pep Guardiola and just leave it the whole way through. The reality is there's not a huge amount of great table bonus games at this point of the season. Like I said a while back, like if you're not sure when to use it, just save it until now. But actually, it hasn't worked out that well. And that's the problem with the chip. That's why I don't like it all that much, is because the table bonus can change and it's difficult to plan exactly when to use it. Like I think for a lot of people, Wolves would have been a huge consideration because of where they were in the table and people would have expected them to pick up some wins. The problem is now they've picked up so many wins that actually they're in 13th place. So if you look at their next 3, let's even skip the Man City game, right? If you go to 36, Brighton at home, Palace away, Brentford at home. So Brighton are 4 places ahead of them. Palace are only 1 and Brentford are 2. So none of those games are table bonus games for Wolves. So the idea of going, like, obviously they could pick up wins in those games, but because there's no table bonus, I don't see why you wouldn't just go for Man City instead, even potentially going on Pep Guardiola this week. So if you've got the transfers and spare slot on Palace, then you could go Glasner, then switch to Pep, or maybe even change your mind next week and go somewhere else. But if you want to play all the way through, I think I would just use it on Pep. Like Fabian Hertzler is at 9.3 points projection this week. That's because the Newcastle game, I believe, is also a table bonus game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. But I think Palace against Forest is probably the better shout to me. So, yeah. Glasner into Pep for 2 games, or just Pep the whole way through is probably where I would play at this point. I'm not sure there's a better combination if you go 36 to 38 instead. So let's get into some of your questions. Which triple Man City would you have on Wildcard? So on current information, I think you've got to go for Vardiol. He's the most nailed on defender, decent set piece threat as well, even if he's playing centre-back. You could argue that Nico O'Reilly also has really good attacking threat. The problem is he's listed as a midfielder in FPL, so I just wouldn't go there. There are rumours that Haaland is back in training. We don't yet know when he might be available. If he's still out, I think you've got to go for Marmoush. Even when Haaland's back, by the way, Marmoush could absolutely play, and I think he probably will for the most part, but his minutes would definitely drop if Haaland was back, and there is a chance that he could get benched at some point as well. But again, I think he's a pretty good price taking up one of those forward spots. And then for me, it would be between De Bruyne and Ruben Dias. I don't think I could go back to Savinho, even though he started against Forest. Maybe he's about to go on a run, but I just don't think I would risk it. I think in terms of goalkeepers, Ortega started in the FA Cup semi-final, but Ederson was back on the bench. So presumably Ederson will come back in, but again, I don't think I would want to risk it. So for me, it's De Bruyne if you want a second attacker, or Ruben Dias if you want a second defender. Some people have asked me whether Ruben Dias is nailed. I'm not sure I would go that far. He's not as nailed as Vardiol, but there's not a huge amount of fit centre-backs at the moment for Man City. Akanji was on the bench against Forest, didn't get any minutes. He's probably the one that could impact Dias the most. But I think for the majority of the games remaining, he will start them. I think if you've got the space and the money, I would take the punt on De Bruyne. But honestly, I feel like I've always got to say this. He could get benched at any point. If he only started 2 of the last 4 games, I would not be completely surprised. So on current information, Vardiol and Marmoush. If, by the way, on Friday, Pep Guardiola says that Haaland's fully fit and available, or he's back and he's going to be in the squad, I would be tempted to try and fit him in and just hope that he gets good minutes for the rest of the season. Massive differential. No one really needs to spend the money on Palmer right now. Saka's probably going to get rotated against Bournemouth, not start against Liverpool. okay, you could go for De Bruyne and spend your money that way. But if you don't go for those kind of players, there's money to go around. And I think you can probably make a decent wildcard squad with Salah and Haaland. It is a risk because Pep could say he's back and available and he could just get benched against Wolves. And then you're down to the last 3 games and he might get rotated for one of them to save him for the FA Cup final. All these things could happen. But if you're willing to take that risk and he's available, I like it. In that case, you could even go Marmoush and Haaland. The problem with that is they both take up forward spots and there's quite a few other good forwards. So I think if you go for Haaland, I'd probably drop Marmoush. But Vardy would definitely be in. And then it's De Bruyne or Diaz. So when's the best time to triple captain if there ends up being no more double game weeks? I think it's probably game week 36 or 38. So in 36, you got Man City versus Southampton away. If Haaland's not back, then Marmoush is definitely an option. If Haaland is back, I still think you could go for Marmoush, but one, he almost certainly wouldn't have penalties. As it stands with Haaland back, we're not sure who would take them. It could be Gundogan, De Bruyne, it could be Marmoush. But with Haaland back, presumably, even though his record's not been great recently, he probably would still take them. Also, Marmoush's minutes would go down, as I've just discussed. He wouldn't necessarily come out of the team, but an early sub is possible. A benching is more possible if Haaland is around. If Haaland is back, by the way, and gets minutes in 35, massive differential against Southampton away. I would consider it. Otherwise, in Mbeumo versus Ipswich away, relegated team. In Mbeumo, ridiculous number of points this season. Great option. Chris Wood at home to a relegated team in Leicester as well. Both decent options. I think on paper, the best two are probably Salah and Saka, game week 38. So Salah's Crystal Palace at home, Saka's Southampton away. With Salah, you could absolutely say, well, by that point, Liverpool, well, they've already got nothing to play for, right? The league is absolutely wrapped up. You can frame your narrative however you want. But also, Salah's going to want as many goals and assists as possible this season. I don't see his minutes being reduced. By game week 38, you will know how Liverpool have played since they won the title. You'll know how much rotation there is. If Salah keeps getting subbed early in the next few games, then maybe you don't captain him in 38, but your fallback option is someone like Saka. And obviously, that's the game where Liverpool are going to get the title and everything, like where they're going to actually get the trophy. So I quite like Salah, right? It's quite boring triple captaining him, but also there's a reason he's got so many points this season, right? And then with Arsenal, if they're out of the Champions League, and even if they're not, by the way, I think it'll be pretty full strength against Southampton because there's another 6 days until the Champions League final anyway. So Saka against Southampton away, again, massive differential. For what it's worth, I don't suspect there's that many triple captains left anyway. So whoever you go for is pretty much a differential. But I think Saka against Southampton last day could be big. So could Salah against Crystal Palace at home. But I don't mind using it in 36. There are obviously slight downsides to saving it longer in that players could get injured. If you get to 38 and you've put all your eggs in the basket of Salah and Saka and they both miss out, or they both happen to have picked up an injury, which is unlikely, I know, then you've got to go for someone else instead. Whereas for 36, it's only next week. If those 3 players are fit and available, you know you can just play it on them. I think I would be looking to use it on Saka. I just think Southampton final day. It's a shame it's not at home, but I really like that. I actually don't mind any of them. Honestly, I'm not trying to sit on the fence. I think they're all good options, but I just think going for those premium midfielders in Salah and Saka is probably where I'd want to use the chip. And I think one of them should be fit for game week 38. And I suspect they will both start. So I'm chasing in a mini league 15 points behind number 1, who has a very template team. Would you gamble going against Mbeumo? Is it insane to put an overall rank of 3,000 at stake just for a chance to win a mini league where there are only bragging rights to win? Now, I get a lot of questions at this stage of the season. Should I focus on this? Should I focus on that? Ultimately, only you can decide what is more important to you. And often the two go hand in hand. If you do well overall, you often do well in mini leagues. But you do get opportunities like this, where you know the person above you has got a certain player, and so you go different by not having them. And that might affect your overall rank if it goes wrong. But only you can decide. Like, I create content, right? So I know what's coming next season. Where did you finish last season? What's your best finish? You know, how many times have you finished inside the top 100k, 50k, whatever it might be? There will be people that want to know that. So my focus these days is really just overall rank. I don't really care where I finish in most of my mini leagues. And I actually think that's a sad state of affairs, right? I don't think that's necessarily a good thing, but it's just the reality of being an FPL content creator. But I think most people start by wanting to win a mini league. That's how I started playing this game. My mates created a mini league. I wanted to win it. That's why I started playing FPL. I think we can kind of lose sight of that. I think we get so focused on overall rank that we forget about why Sounds a bit cheesy, right? But why we started playing in the first place. And who do you even have to answer to, right? Let's say you're 3k, you take a gamble to win your min league, you finish 20k. Does it really matter? And I'm not saying the game, we shouldn't care about it, right? You're watching a video in game week 35. You're a very engaged FPL manager. It means a lot to you. I'm not saying it shouldn't matter at all. You don't have to answer to anyone. You don't have hundreds of people asking you where you finished last season. And if it gives you a chance to win that mini league, is that not what it's all about, really, at the end of the day? But obviously, it's up to you. If you want a top 5k finish for the first time or you want to push top 1k, then forget about the min league. You have to decide what your goal is. Just on the specific question about Mbermo, I think this is similar to any risk you take in FPL. You've got to pick your battle. So, for example, right, 15 points is not that much to make up in 4 weeks. That's just one captaincy decision if it goes your way. Let's say on the last day of the season, your mini league leader is going to captain Salah. You just captain Saka. You might even make up 10, 15 points on that final day, right? So it's not that much. I think it really depends who you're going to gamble with. So, for example, if you're going to say, right, I'm not going to go for Mbermo. If the rank declines, so be it. I'm going to go for Bowen. I don't mind that because West Ham's fixtures for the rest of the season are pretty good. If you're going to go for like Cliver instead, because your person above you doesn't own him, okay, maybe that works out, but they've also got to play Arsenal and Man City next 3 game weeks. I don't think that's worth the gamble to make up 15 points. So is there a way here where you can go for Mbermo, maybe keep that rank because he's just a really good option for the rest of the season, and also go a little bit different somewhere else? Could you go a slightly different captain next week when you make your transfer? If they go Chris Wood, you go Visser. Something like that. So, as always, the bigger the gap you've got to make up, the bigger gamble. If you were saying I got 45 points to make up, then yeah, don't go for Mbermo. Or maybe just accept that league is probably done and concentrate on your overall rank and do get Mbermo. But again, you have to decide this. So I know it was quite cheesy, but most of us start playing because of mini leagues. And I think ultimately that's probably where the importance should be. It's just not for me. And that is just a consequence of creating content, which I don't care whatsoever because I love doing this. I just have different goals for the end of the season. So rank is more important to me. For a lot of people, it should be mini league, I think. So is Harvey Barnes considered a sell now? I would say not necessarily, but I don't think he's worth buying anymore. And I said that on yesterday's video about Newcastle players in general. You look at the next few fixtures, Brighton away, Chelsea at home, Arsenal away. It's not that great on paper. Are Newcastle capable of getting goals in those games? Yes, but I don't think we're going to see them scoring 3-4 goals in most of these games coming up. Everton at home last day of the season, not bad. But again, Everton are not a team you expect to concede 3 or 4 that often. So I wouldn't buy him now. You can absolutely keep hold of him. I'm still not quite sure what's going to happen with the whole Anthony Gordon situation. Because for most of this season and for a while now, he's been first choice left winger. But Barnes is playing so well, and that balance with him and Murphy is working out nicely. Maybe Newcastle don't change it for a while. I think if you're looking at your squad thinking, I'm happy with everything else, I've got a spare transfer, I'm going to do Barnes to Mbermo, Barnes to Bowen or something like that, I'd rather have those other 2 players. But I wouldn't be looking at Harvey Barnes in my team as a massive issue. So if you've got like Barnes and Rashford, and you know Rashford's out for the season, he's the priority. But if you've got Barnes, nothing else is an issue, and you've got spare transfers, then yeah, I'd probably sell him for someone with better fixtures. So is Trent Alexander-Arnold considered a good buy, considering Bradley picked up a knock, although we don't know how long he's out for? I think I saw something going around to say that Bradley would probably be back in training this week, presumably then available for game week 35. But before you have to make any decisions, we will hear from Arne Slot on Friday. So hopefully he'll tell us whether Bradley is available or not. I suspect he's going to get a lot of questions about title celebrations, but hopefully there's some injury updates in there as well. And also some questions about whether he might rotate for the remaining games and stuff like that. Ultimately, I was pretty confident that Trent would start against Spurs if he was fit and available because he's their first choice right back and they had a title to win. Ultimately, we won't know what would have happened because Bradley wasn't in the squad. But I think going forward, you have to be a little bit less sure in Trent's minutes. I think they will mostly play a full strength 11, but Trent could get benched. He could get subbed early. That could be before the 60th minute. And also, when you look at the fixtures, like how many clean sheets are we expecting for Liverpool? Chelsea away the week after they've won the title. Arsenal at home in 36 will be tough. Even Brighton away, right? Brighton could score in that game, even if they end up losing the match. The best clean sheet odds are probably Palace at home in game week 38. And that's the final day. You've got 3 games before that. So I think for Liverpool, I wouldn't be buying any players right now, apart from Mo Salah if you don't own him. So on Wildcard, which 3 forwards would you pick? If Haaland is declared fit by Pep, would you make sacrifices to get him in? I kind of touched on that earlier. I would definitely consider taking that risk if Pep says that he's back and available for game week 35. The fixtures are good. You could have a very big differential Haaland against Southampton away, and all you're really sacrificing is Palmer, Saka, De Bruyne. I think for most people at this point, they can create a pretty good team with Salah and Haaland without having to make massive sacrifices elsewhere. I think most defenders, for example, that you're going to go for at the moment are cheap ones, apart from maybe Vardiol. There's a lot of good cheap midfielders as well. I would be tempted by it, but I have to say it would be a risk. It's not a guarantee that Haaland would play all those games, especially with an FA Cup final to worry about as well. Let's say Haaland is not back. I would probably choose 3 of Visser, Wood, Marmoush and Watkins. I think on Marmoush it would depend on what Pep says about Haaland. If he says he's maybe back for 36, you could possibly ignore him. But Wolves at home, Southampton away, I'd probably still go there. I've not got Cunha on the list, not because I think he's a bad option, but there's only 4 game weeks left, and one of the fixtures for Wolves is Man City away, and it's this week. So I think I would probably ignore him. I think Visser and Wood have got better fixtures. Watkins is the differential. Not many people are going to be picking him up. If Rashford's out for the rest of the season, he should be now, but he's 8.9 million. So if you've got high team value, you can get everyone else you want. I'd be tempted by a front line of Marmoush, Watkins, and then one of Visser or Wood. If you're struggling to afford Watkins, I would just ignore him and just not go there and just go Marmoush, Wood, and Visser instead. If you look at the fixtures for Wolves, and again, I know they're playing really well right now. I completely get that. If you look at the fixtures, they're not bad after after Man City. Brighton at home, Palace away, Brentford home. If you want to go for Cunha, you absolutely should. Like a Cunha, Wood, Visser front line works as well. You could even drop Marmoush. But the fact that Man City are playing Southampton next week, I would kind of want him. So I don't even mind, like, if you set up the rest of the squad where you don't need transfers, I don't mind using a transfer on a forward. So go for, like, Marmoush, Wood, and Visser this week, and maybe just move one on to Cunha next week or in game week 37. Like in 36, you probably wouldn't want to do it because it's Ipswich away, Leicester at home, Southampton away for those 3 forwards. But in 37, you could move on to Cunha. So I just wouldn't start with him right now. If you've enjoyed that video, make sure to give it a like, hit that subscribe button. I'll be back tomorrow for team selection, so I'll catch you then.